Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back to the Lycaeus Frequency. After returning from our short hiatus last week, we are returning with a, returning host.
Hello.
Welcome back. Tonight, the Hypnagogic Archive. Again.
That's pretty usual.
Yes, we're going to finish this thing. Well, we're not going to finish it tonight, but we're going to finish it, and then we're going to get back to our other things.
After we theorize.
Yes, of course, I'm sure. Well, I mean, there's no point in delaying the inevitable. We are going to go ahead and start with a text post originally posted to the California Hotel Review Boards on July 21st, 1995, titled, Longing for Something Greater. Section, Rest Stops. July 21st, 8:09 p.m. Here in the Golden State, we don't only want you to appreciate our incredible national resources and famous hospitality. We also want to make sure you have a place to pull over, use the restroom, or get a drink. With hundreds of rest stops statewide, many located near famous monuments and landmarks, you'll have no problem finding one you can if you use our maps. If you recently used one of our rest stops, please leave an honest review below. Report on the stop's condition, its cleanliness, and anything else. The better feedback you give, the more we can improve. California Tourism Coalition, Los Gusanos Chapter. July 22nd, 10:43 a.m. Pulled an all-night shift last night, delivering some canned goods and writing this in my room at the Holiday Inn. I had to go back in the woods for a while, so it was great to have this facility to get out and stretch. The stop is located to the left. It's behind some trees, but it's visible from the main highway. The design is circular, with windows on the outside and the restrooms/water fountains on the interior. This design would, I think, allow for some good views during the day. I got there at about 9 p.m. It was dark and I was the only one around. The parking lot was empty. I filled up my water bottle, then looked at the bulletin board, which had a helpful list of nearby activities. It also had a historic poster depicting the pioneers in the area, which I thought was educational and well-researched. After that, I left. Great rest stop, good condition. Bathrooms seem in great shape. You guys must come out here all the time to fix and inspect it, do maintenance and everything. I don't know if this is what you want. I've never written a review for one of these before, but 4 out of 5 stars regardless. Joseph M. Yep. Well, it's Los Gusanos, which is definitely further south.
Still. I feel like I've been on enough trips to judge that most rest stop bathrooms are shit.
Well, this was in 1995. It was before your time.
Very true.
July 25th, 9:27 p.m. Hi, I don't know why I'm doing this, but here I am. I was at your stop a night ago with some friends. We were mostly drunk. Our driver wasn't. How he manages to stay sober while we're all having fun is beyond me. Maybe he feels obligated to. Anyway, we got to your rest stop. The sun was going down and we pulled in to walk around the forest. We parked in the parking lot and our driver stayed behind. We brought some of our beer and some potato chips with us. I remember my friend Nikki telling me we were going to go for a 15-minute short hike. I said okay, and we said bye to our driver and started heading into the forest. I was behind Nikki. Colt was behind me, and I think Doug was in the front. Didn't have a compass, but I think we were walking north. Anyway, we got to an open clearing and decided we were ready to go back, but before we did that, we sat down in a circle and drank and ate some. Then Doug said he had to pee, thinking of doing it out here, but Colt reminded him that there was a rest stop, so he decided to hold it until we got back to the parking lot, so we all got up and walked back to the direction we came. This guy has fucking no punctuation. Or rather, a bunch of commas. I get why he had to. All our bladders were full. If we got pulled over by the police, they'd probably arrest us on the spot, even if our driver wasn't drunk. It was hard to navigate, but we made it. So we got back to the parking lot, and just as we see the rest stop in the distance, our driver screams like he saw something. Colt told us that maybe it was a mountain lion, that they were around this area, so he told us to stay behind and he would go check what was wrong. He had his pocket knife with him. Interesting move. Doug stayed behind and he tried telling a joke, but I didn't get it with the state I was in. Nikki laughed, though. After a few minutes, Colt tells us it's okay to come out, that he's okay. I should mention our driver's name is Phil. He's a total square. He's sitting in the car and breathing deeply. Colt's trying to calm him down without much luck. Phil says he saw a lady walking out of the stop. She's tall and about 25 to 30, has suede jacket and slacks. Looks like a tourist, but he doesn't know how she got there because there weren't any other cars around. She looks at him and he says hi. She says hi back and comes over to sit in the car with him. And he's like, okay. Nothing romantic especially. She looks at the car and feels it, asking how much it costs. Phil says she was kind of sad and also nervous. Looking around, and Phil thought maybe she's a convict or something. Only that doesn't make any sense because there are no prisons around. Then she looks at him and starts crying. Face on the dashboard. She was going whack. So he tries putting a hand on her shoulder, telling her it would be okay, and she's crying and crying. And he thinks of coming to get us. But then he looks around and she's not in the front seat anymore. 1 second she's there crying, and the next she's not there anymore. He says it was a banshee, which is a kind of Irish spirit. At this point, Colt slaps him and tells him it was probably just a drug addict or something. We all go inside to use the restrooms and get some water after that. Phil tags along. He's still kind of out of it, but tells us we can drive home. He can drive home. Nikki grabs my arm while we are inside because the whole place is scary. Something isn't right here. I don't know what, but you should fix it because it is uninviting. Anyway, then we went back out, and when we left, we didn't feel creeped out anymore. That's my review. Hope it helps out anyone who wants to go here. Fiona H.
Too much.
Yeah, that was interesting.
No, I like that one. Something is wrong. Your place is haunted. Fix it. Hope this helps.
Yeah, it's, you should fix it because it is uninviting. That's pretty good.
Oh, God.
All right. June 30th, 8:19 a.m. Can't say I saw a ghost here, but the bathrooms were filthy. There you go.
That sounds like California.
This first review, where he says they were well maintained, is either him trying to make this place feel better, or somebody did this between now and the last post. There was soap everywhere. The sinks were filled with it. My husband went in the men's, and he said it was the same in there. Just soap all over. Floors, walls, everything. Might have been vandals. The soap dispensers were tapped out, so I couldn't wash my hands. I had to take my shoes off. They were coated. I know it sounds like something that wouldn't happen, especially out here in the middle of the forest, but believe me, we've been in 40 states, and during our trips, we've seen all manner of degeneracy at gas stations, hotels, you name it, we've seen it. America's crumbling at the seams these days. I remember back when you could take a trip on the highway and feel safe about where you were sleeping and eating. Today, in the fucking 90s, today, it's unpredictable, especially at rest stops. They're not monitored regularly. I feel confident when I say that someone would waste their time wasting all this soap if you gave him a cheap laugh and inconvenienced everyone else. Liz O.
Liz O. Nice.
Yeah.
Okay, wait, so how long is it in between these posts? The ones we've gotten through so far?
Like a day, maybe 5. Well, it starts with the first one, right? The first one's on 21st. Mm-hmm. The last one we just read was on 30th.
Oh.
So it's like a few days in between.
Okay.
Each. And then we jump to August 6th, which is like a week later, right? August 6th, 1:42 p.m. I was tipped off to this board by a friend of mine. He said there was some crazy shit going down at this rest stop, so it was like, well, I might go ahead and have a look. I have an 89 Chevy Capri. The mileage is pretty good, and I've never been in an accident or DUI or anything, so I plan to make a trip down to the rest stop at night when apparently this lady comes out. Went to the store, got a flashlight and extra batteries. I even planned on bringing my tape recorder to see if I could record her when she came up to me. Then I could sell the recording to a cable network. Ghost shows getting big these days. There's one where this team of ghost hunters goes to an abandoned coal mine, and what they see is really freaky. I don't have a camera, though. I should probably buy one for next time. Anyway, I got to the rest stop after hanging out for about a half an hour at the scenic lookout that's a couple miles away. I pull in, and it's about 7 o'clock at this point. There are some birds in the trees making noise. The rest stop is way back at the other end of the parking lot, so I pull to the closest available spot. Right when I get in, another car that had just been there drives back onto the road. Now, I'm the only one here, just me and the rest stop, which is really creepy considering how well lit it is. Meanwhile, the rest of the world is pitch black, no electricity for miles around. From what Fiona is describing above, it sounds like this ghost is very expressive and open, and if she wasn't, she wouldn't go right up to the car and pretend to be alive. This is definitely one of the best paranormal eyewitness accounts I've ever heard. So I'm hanging out in the lot. I reach back to find the beef stroganoff I'd packed, and I eat that for about 15 minutes. Nothing. Just forest noises, wind in the trees, some crickets. At this point, I'm about to stick the key in and leave, but then it occurs to me that in Fiona's account, she says the ghost came out of the rest stop, which could mean it's her point of origin, that she's somehow bound to it by some force keeping her there. I set down the food, leave the car, and walk to the rest stop. At this point, I'm really sweating bullets, and I have my tape recorder in hand, index finger ready to hit play. The atmosphere in there is really claustrophobic, glass walls in every direction, and also the circular architecture, how it loops back around, and you can walk through it and end up right where you started. Also, on the side facing away from the parking lot, where the bulletin board and a bench is, there's a sheer drop-off behind the wall. So if something lunged at me and knocked me through the wall, I could plummet at least 70 feet. I walk around slowly, making sure to look in every direction. I reach the men's bathroom, which is on the side. Women's is on the other side. Drinking fountain is in front, in case anyone is wondering. I open the door and look in. There isn't soap all over, like how Liz described it. It was a pretty normal bathroom with 3 stalls and 2 urinals, 1 sink, a soap dispenser, and a towel dispenser. Maybe the cleanup crew came by. This is when shit hit the fan, because the lights start flickering on and off, and my stomach is tied into knots. I back up against the wall and hit play on my recorder. It's just then I realize I forgot my flashlight in the car. Didn't think I would need it because the rest stop is well lit. Either that or I'm just an idiot. So the lights are flickering on and off and everything is quiet except for the distant hum of the generator, which I'm scared is on the verge of going out, which would leave me alone in the dark with this entity, or whatever it is, who probably knows I'm here to gather evidence of her. I grab onto the edge of the sink for reassurance, and just then, my worst fears are realized and the power completely goes out. I can't see jack shit. All I have is the tiny little red light on my recorder. All of a sudden, the bathroom is full of sound, this horrible sound that rips in my ears and makes me want to cover them. The kind of shit you'd think of when you look at those illustrations of Dante's Divine Comedy. I resist the urge to cover my ears, though, and make a run for the door of the bathroom, fumble around for it. As I do, something grabs at my shirt. I don't know how I didn't have a heart attack right there and then. I get to the outer section, and with the small amount of natural light there is, I can make out my car. I head for the doors, and I hear something behind me. I get the fuck out, throttle the gas, and had about 3 shots that night. Even though this was fucking terrifying, and my belief in the paranormal is strengthened now more than ever, I still want to go back. Just for the thrill of it. For a few years, I've been interested in ghosts, and I'm sick of going to all the same tourist traps, spending hours waiting for something to happen. This is the real fucking thing. This is America's most haunted rest stop. I'll definitely be back soon. Stanley C.
For the whole first part, I was thinking it sounded like you wanting to go find that stuff. And then it ran away, and I was like, oh, never mind.
Yeah. Well, usually there isn't an inferno of noise that assaults my ears when I go do these things. So.
Usually. You're not going to the right places then.
Well, I'm just going to places that don't ruin my ears. August 8th, 4:30 p.m. Okay, so I don't know how this thread blew out of proportion so quickly. Maybe it's a case of mass hysteria. Maybe people are just making up stories in collaboration with the Tourism Coalition. But I was here yesterday with my golden retriever on a business trip to San Diego, and it was one of the most boring locations I've ever been to. When I first saw this forum, I thought it was a joke. Who reviews rest stops? They all look the same, and they're the most boring places anywhere, hands down. I went in here around 11 o'clock, really late. You would think a ghost would use the opportunity to grab me or something, but it didn't. I got a drink of water, sat down on the bench for a while, gave my dog a treat, and then I left. There was nothing out of the ordinary, no unsettling feeling of dread. And keep in mind, I didn't even know about all this ghost stuff when I went here, so I was completely unbiased. If I'd met this ghost, I would have been just as scared as anyone else, but there was nothing that separated this from any other rest stop I'd been to over the past decade. It's quite a distance from the town, so be sure to stop here. It's probably your only place to fill up on water or use the restroom if you're going west. Be sure to look for the sign. What are you people on about? Yvette F. All right.
Got a skeptic here.
Yeah, it continues.
Who does actually review rest stops? Is that a thing? Because I think it should be a thing.
It could be a thing.
I want to go complain about some rest stops.
Interesting. Well, if you'd like to send some things in, because I just got to get this plug out of the way, considering viewer submissions and reviews are all kind of similar. If you'd like to send in a spooky story that you've experienced or someone you know has experienced, send it in to lycaeusfrequency@gmail.com. That's LYCAEUS frequency@gmail.com. Continuing. August 12th, 9 p.m. I felt it too. I didn't see or hear anything, but I felt it. Permeates the place like a cold chill. You open the door and step inside, and your heart skips a few beats. Maybe it's the isolation of the place. It's located a ways out from civilization. Perhaps the uncanny quality that comes from seeing something built by man in the middle of the wilderness. Then again, the highway was also built by man, and it doesn't freak anyone out. Hadn't read this before I visited, but I know it's true. I felt like I was being watched here, which is a natural feeling to have, given those glass walls that open out into a blank abyss. You can barely see the sky and the outline of the hills, but mostly all you can see from inside is an infinite void. Lots of trees. Something could be hiding behind any of them. I almost slipped in here. That's how tense it was. I pulled in because I thought it was a gas station. I needed gas last night and reached Los Guasanos in the nick of time. The trivia on the wall was kind of interesting. Neat factoids, but you could probably find them somewhere else. If you value your sanity, stay away from here. Jennifer K.
Oh. Interesting take on it.
Yeah. All right. Oh, this one has a picture. We'll get to it. We'll get to the picture.
The suspense.
August 15th, 12:10 a.m. Staying at the Holiday Inn. They were full because some guy was having a high school reunion, but they managed to slip me in at the last second. My fingers are shaking because I can't believe what I saw tonight. But I did see it. And the sooner I come to terms with that, the sooner I can go to sleep. Probably drank too much coffee. I saw her outside the rest stop. It was getting late, and I had packed my truck with all sorts of equipment. EVP meter, sacred artifacts in case she was demonic in nature, night vision goggles for making my way around. I also got a camera and some instant film. Turns out I wouldn't need any of that because she was just standing there on the sidewalk. I knew it was her, given how she was described. It couldn't be anyone else. She was smoking a cigarette and staring off into the distance. And when I saw her from the road, I almost thought I was driving on and not confronting her. But I knew this was the chance of a lifetime, so I bit my lip and drove in. She kept her monotone expression. When I parked, I looked at her for a while. There was something about her with which anybody could tell she wasn't really a person. She wasn't really there. A glow, maybe, an aura. She was wearing a long dress that went down to her ankles, and the smoke from her cigarette billowed out. I stared at her, and she didn't acknowledge my presence. I was shaking all over as I loaded my film into the camera. As I did this, she turned and started walking down the adjacent path into the thick of trees. I grabbed the camera and followed. When she stopped momentarily near a bush, I got this picture. If you look, you can see her in the middle. She looked a lot more substantial when I was there. Oh, okay. Yeah, so this picture is like, your average kind of like, it's a picture of a bush near a highway, but there's like this weird kind of blue dust that's in the shape of a person that kind of is hanging in the air. There's a little bit of a glow to it. Yeah. Lots of green.
You mean all this?
Yeah. We got a nice scoff.
That's nothing.
All right. She kept going, and I stayed behind. There was enough light that I could see her in the trail. There's something to do with how the sun hit the clouds. In these conditions, she seemed to float a few inches off the ground. My eyes became watery, and the trees got thicker. My face was whacked with branches a few times. Why anyone would build a trail here, I don't know. Eventually, we reached a clearing. It was about 30 feet across, and the silence was deafening. No noises from animals, not even a breeze. Me and her standing apart as the sky went from navy blue to jet black, and there were no stars despite us being miles from any city. She looked on edge now. She glanced over her shoulder at the forest. Her cigarette died out and she flicked it on the ground. Time crept along. It was too dark to take any pictures. My camera was one of those cheap ones you get at a department store without a flash. I stood still and quiet while the tension grew. There was something behind her, that same presence I felt when the lights were flickering on and off. Now that I really think about it, I don't think that was her. It was this thing. This thing was enough to scare her. I thought about going over to say something to her, but I knew she wasn't really there, so I stayed put. If I interrupted this scene, she could vanish and I'd be left without answers. The thing suddenly came out. It was red and abstract, and it filled my field of vision. And she was screaming, and it was that same deafening noise from before. I ran back on the trail until I thought my fucking legs were going to fall off. And then, suddenly the noise stopped. It didn't fade in the background so much as it abruptly cut out like a pause button. I considered going back to the clearing, but decided against it. I was alone out here, and nobody was around. I caught my breath, and then I walked back to the car. Made sure to keep the camera safe. When I got back to Los Guasanos, I got my pictures developed, and then when I got back to my room, I scanned them in. Most of them were blurry. My hands were shaking, but this one is clear enough. This is all I have to prove that I saw a fucking paranormal battle out there. I hope you read this far, but if you didn't, I understand. It's been a draining experience for me, and I'm sure for all of you as well. I don't think the rest stop should be condemned or anything. This may be our only chance to study these phenomena. Keep it open. Put a sign out to warn travelers that if they go here, they do so at their own risk. I'll sell some merchandise, raise some revenue. Just a thought. I'll probably never be going back, but it was fun. Until next time, Stanley C.
Yes, profit off the terror.
Yeah. August 24th, 11:12 a.m. Friendly reminder. Los Guasanos National Park will be closed to the public by August 30th. If you want to go see the fabulous vistas of the wild open frontier, go now. California Tourism Coalition, Los Guasanos Chapter. August 25th, 2 p.m. This rest stop is great. Me and the kids stopped here during our week-long trip to Yosemite Valley. They said they wanted to come along, and their mother said okay. We're divorced, but we're still on good terms. She trusts me with them. Anyway, we stopped here on the way up, and they really liked the scenery. I also did. The air is nice, a lot cleaner than in the city. It's great to get away and leave your worries behind. We filled up on water here and got to Yosemite the next day. Somebody else said you should look out for the rest stop. That's true. You could miss it if you're not paying attention. I especially like the stop's modern construction. In the sunlight, it looked really nice. Whoever designed this place is definitely skilled at what they do. The kids ran around in there for a while before I called them back to the car, and we had a picnic lunch out on the grass. It was delicious. Great place to stop. Almost as breathtaking as a scenic lookout. 5 out of 5 stars. Would recommend. Walter H. That's cute.
Adorable.
Oh. Ooh, that's spooky.
Oh, no.
August 29th, a minute before midnight. I understand it now. After nights of this, I finally understand. I've been trying to make the pieces fit together in my head. Sometimes I stay up till morning, trying to convince myself I'm wrong. I saw or heard something incorrectly, but this is how it happened. I need to live with that, and I need to do something about it. We went up to the park like we always do. One last trip at the end of the season. But Nikki had some meeting to get to, and Doug was coming down from a cold, said he had to rest. I told him that was okay. In the end, I called everyone up, but only Fiona and Colt could make it. I knew they would bring a shit ton of booze. They always do, and I always let them get shit-faced. But tonight, as we were driving up those isolated curves, I could tell something was different without Doug or Nikki. There was some sort of drama between them and them alone, which they had never revealed to me before. Colt kept telling offensive jokes, and Fiona told him to stop. And Colt got angry and snapped at her, and then they both started going back and forth, and Colt took a bottle and slammed it in the window. The window broke. Without even thinking about it, I turned off the road and put the car in park, told Colt that he had to get out and that he could hitchhike back. The window would cost a shit ton of money to repair. And then I looked at the windshield and saw that we were back at the rest stop. It was looming out there in the night, like a monument. Colt got this awful look in his eyes. I saw it from the rearview mirror. It was that kind of look that you see right before something horrible happens. And sure enough, it did. He grabbed Fiona out of her seat by the arms and dragged her, kicking and screaming onto the pavement, and then he took her towards the forest, that same horrible expression on his face. I sprang into action and tried breaking it up, but he was quicker than I was, and before I knew it, they had both disappeared. They hadn't reached the forest. It was more like they had walked into a mist that materialized out of nothing. It swallowed them, and I was left standing in the parking lot. There was broken glass everywhere, and my headlights were blinking onto it, and it was surreal. Me, my car, the rest stop. They weren't there anymore. I got back in the car and turned the radio up, turned it up to full volume so I wouldn't have to consider what I had just seen. I sat there, staring at the rest stop, and time lost meaning. Eventually, I saw someone come out from behind the trees. I was about to leave because I thought it was Colt, that he had come to beat me up, but it was Fiona. She was bleeding heavily from her right arm, and she was a mess, but she was conscious. She leaned against the car to catch herself. I turned the radio down, got out, and helped her into her seat. She looked empty inside. I took my jacket, tore it into strips, and wrapped it around her arm to stop the bleeding. I asked her if she'd need to go to the hospital, but she said no, that it was fine. She had a lot of antiseptic and gauze at home, and if she went to the hospital with alcohol on her breath, I'd probably be held responsible. She was right. We couldn't tell anyone about this. I tell the repair team that a branch broke my window. We didn't say much on the way home. She cried a little, looking out at the wilderness as it passed by. She had done something back there. I knew Colt was dead. He had crossed the line and he had suffered the consequences. No more trips up here anymore, not with all of us. Probably not with Fiona. Probably not with me. What had happened was something that we would never mention to anyone. I dropped her at her house at around 11, and when I got home, I walked around for hours. Couldn't sleep. Finally, exhaustion overcame me, and I went out like a light. The ghost is Fiona. I saw her sitting right next to me, and I didn't recognize her because she is older, but it was her. There's no way around it. She was crying because Colt's body is out there somewhere. Maybe in another time and place. Fiona is only 22 now. She'll be 26 or 27 when she revisits the rest stop late at night by accident and falls over the cliff to her death to join Colt down there. By then, she'll be beyond the limits of time. She'll exist at that rest up forever and always a presence. And Colt will always be a presence there too, the red thing. And she'll sit and look out into the forest to wait for Colt to come back. And she'll see every car that comes in and live in the building and walk around the outside. And her and Colt will be stuck up there. Unless I stop it. Right now, I have the power to warn her, to tell her to never go back. I'm the only one who knows, who really understands. I have to tell her before it's too late, before she moves away and wipes that night from her head. I hope I'm not too late. Sometimes, all it seems like I can do is hope. Philip R.
What?
September 1st, 2 a.m. The Los Gusanos National Park is now closed for the season. Please visit again next year, and remember, nature is only one step away. Support your national parks and they'll reward you with infinite beauty and splendor. California Tourism Coalition, Los Gusanos Chapter.
I'm a little bit lost in that, but that's so good.
Yeah, I think I get it. I think I get the timeline here.
I don't.
Okay, so first stuff, like everything's happening. Everyone's like, oh, spooky ghost. Right? Everyone's they mention the woman who just looks like she's 30s. Yeah. Right? That is Fiona, who is the poster who was talking about Philip crying.
Yeah.
And then the guy who's crying is Philip, the guy who just said, it's her. It's Fiona. And the weird abstract red thing that screams a lot, that's Colt, who was killed out in the woods by Fiona after he went manic and tried to kill her.
Okay, and then Fiona.
Yeah, Fiona gets older, forgets that happened, accidentally lands at the rest stop one night, and falls off a cliff and dies.
Why does Philip know this?
I don't know.
Oh, that is so good.
Yeah.
I'm actually reading a book about something like that, Secrets Between Friends.
Yeah.
Ooh, that's
yeah. And of course, there's Stanley C. Stanley C. is just a bystander. He's he's just the guy who sees the shit happening. And the thing is, they're ghosts out of time, right? That's why he saw her before. It's because they're ghosts out of time. They're unmoored from reality in a sense.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, unmoored from time. They stay in the same place. They're stuck in the second. No, they're stuck in the third dimension, as opposed to they don't move forward in the fourth. They exist as a constant, which means that whatever Philip tried to do didn't work.
Oh yeah, okay. I love the mention at the beginning that like it could be a banshee.
Yeah, in a weird way, it is.
Yeah, it kind of is, huh? Because
The ghost of yourself is a weird banshee for sure.
yeah, isn't it? It's like what is it it's defined as.
Well, a banshee is a wailing ghost that generally foretells the death of a
Yeah,
loved one.
It's an omen of death.
Yeah.
It's not always just like a loved one.
Generally, I've heard in Irish folklore that it's the death of a loved one. But if you but the other thing is, if you hear the wail of a banshee, it means you're going to die.
Oh, okay.
It's kind of mixed on. It's probably different parts of Ireland that have different lore as to what it is. I've read a little bit into banshees. They're definitely spooky.
Very spooky.
Yeah.
I don't know. I really like that one. That one was so good. Are we doing another one?
Yeah. We'll kick off another one, but first, we're halfway in the show.
Interlude.
Yeah, a little musical interlude here. Let's see. What do we got?
What are we feeling today? Let me ask you. What are the males saying?
That's a good question. That's a very good question. As I consider that fully, what these whales are singing about, we're going to go ahead and say that the whales, I think the whales are singing curses tonight by the crane wives. Here they are. Crane wives, curses. Welcome back to the Lycaeus Frequency. We've completed Longing for Something Greater, text file about ghosts unmoored from time and rest stop reviews, for those of you who weren't here. Moving on to, well, a short poem. It sounds like this is going to be a lot of talk after this. Very, very short poem. It's called Mirror to the Abyss. Its origin is unknown.
What does this have?
If you look far enough, you might see just how insignificant you are in the grand scheme of things. I took a flight through rain-soaked cities, flew away in abandoned wings. Now you might say that I'm too condescending. I say, gaze inward and you'll find it. You missed it. Now it's behind your house, now in front. It will always be there if you keep this up. Call now, get $5 off.
Excuse me?
That's it.
That's the whole thing.
That's the whole thing.
What the fuck?
Yeah. Okay.
Oh, wow. $5 off for existential. Right.
Yeah. This confuses me.
That is so confusing. That's it?
That's it. That's the whole thing. Oh, and there's a broken image file.
Yeah, but origin unknown.
Yeah.
You'll always be there if you keep this up. What is it referring to? I'm so confused.
Yeah. Let's see if you look far enough.
I'm
Hmm.
like that.
Yeah, no, that's confusing.
It's a little what's the word?
Vague, esoteric, dogmatic.
It was compared to the stuff we just read, that was like so anticlimactic. That was
Personally, I think it was kind of funny. It's like, call now, get $5 off. Right at the end.
it just sounds like existential dread.
Yeah, alright. Well, let's see what this next thing is. Let's see how long this is. Oh, that's pretty long. Not that one. We're not doing that one. That one's long.
Just save it.
Yeah, another time.
Call of the Void. That's what we have to look forward to?
No, it's not called Call of the Void.
What was it? I was
Oxide of the Void.
Oh. Ooh.
Yeah, feel free to think about that a little bit.
Teasers for next week.
Yeah,
Speaking of, you know what we should have people do for next week? We should have some listener submissions, you know?
That would be nice. Viewer submissions, listener submissions, please, for the love of God, send them into our little crystal ball that we keep in our pockets.
I'm starving.
That is Lycaeus at frequency. Let me try that again. Lycaeus frequency at gmail.com. Please send them in. Your spooky stories, your strange coincidences, your moments unmoored from time, the time that a year repeated for you, all those fun things. Send them in, please. We need them.
Give us the spooks.
Yeah, give us something good for this strange little county. I'm sure there are many strange things here.
Has to be.
If there isn't, I'd be mildly disappointed in my choice of residence.
What the heck?
Mirror to the Abyss. Well, because so it's named Mirror to the Abyss.
Origin unknown.
Yeah. Well, because these are all text posts from like different websites. They don't know where this one came from. Let's see. If you look far enough, you might just see how insignificant you are in the grand scheme of things. I took a flight through rain-soaked cities and flew away in abandoned wings. Now you might say that I'm too condescending. I say gaze inward and you'll find it. You missed. Now it's behind your house. Now in front. It will always be there if you keep this up. Call now. Get $5 off.
You'll find it. What's the it? What is the it?
The thing that's in front of your house.
But no, not anymore. Not behind the house.
No, well, it starts behind the house and then it goes to front.
What the I see, I can't even keep track of this thing. Whatever it is, I don't know.
It's something inside that escapes the inside of you. Because now it's behind your house.
You know,
Now it's in front.
I love the phrasing of if you... What is it? What's the meaning? If you look far enough?
You might see just how... if you look far enough, you might see just how insignificant you are in the grand scheme of things.
I love the phrase of that because I usually think about that. I associate it with overthinking, the existential dread, at 3 a.m. when you can't...
Yeah.
You're not really looking far. You're looking in, and that's... Oh, it does reference that again, huh?
Yeah, well, it says, I took a flight through rain-soaked cities and flew away in abandoned wings. Now you might say I'm too condescending. I say gaze inward and you'll find it. Maybe it's implying that existential dread is not just a thought, but a being, a thing, something solid, tangible,
really
a mirror, perhaps, into the abyss, as is the name of the title.
Yes. Yeah. That would make a lot of sense. That is unfortunate.
Yeah. Let's see. And I think that call now, get $5 off is just, is like...
Funny.
I feel like it's relating to the fact that we are in a post-capitalist society where it's just like, oh yeah, here you go, feel some political dread.
Mm-hmm.
This is just kind of trying to gift you with a lot of dread.
It's working.
Personally, I think it's kind of blunt. It's not terribly nuanced.
You know that audio? It's like, are you trying to romance me?
I don't know what you're talking about.
No, you don't?
No.
I know some listeners out there right now.
Okay.
Are you trying to seduce me? No. It's working. That's how I'm feeling about this. You're trying to scare me? It's working.
That's interesting. I'll keep that in mind. Woo. All right.
Too much existential dread for you tonight.
Yeah. All right.
Whoa. It is getting to that time.
Yeah, this is a curious thing, isn't it?
It's about this time.
Because it starts with flying. Like the first part kind of mentions flying. Because it says I took a flight through rain-soaked cities, flew away in abandoned wings, which I would think is what essentially is I stole a plane.
Stole a plane. If we're looking into more philosophical aspects of it, I could see it as freedom,
Abandoned wings. What's the purpose of abandoned in this instance?
Well, yeah, definitely stolen.
Or maybe not. Maybe somebody shed their wings for something better. In a sense. Gave up that travel for something settled. No need to fly if you're staying in one place.
all of these stories are related.
Yeah.
It's just kind of like thrown in there. Could it relate to something we've already seen?
Maybe. Well, let's see. Hold on. Let me see how many are left after us. Let's go. Nope. Another one. Okay. Nope. Actually, add one to that because. All right. There's a total of 9 more. So we may have yet something. It might. Yeah. This might be. Yeah. This might be some foreshadowing shenanigans.
I love foreshadowing.
Yeah. I can. Yeah.
I can't wait to realize that later.
Yeah. You'll just have to read over it, listen back. Who knows? We'll see. Perhaps something will come of it. What does rain-soaked cities mean? Like what's the indication there? Because if wings mean freedom, and abandoned wings mean somebody shed their freedom to stay on the ground, and what is the significance of rain-soaked cities?
Doesn't it say they passed over?
It says they took a flight through rain-soaked cities.
Through. It could be a representation of hard times, or
Could it be depression?
perhaps. I'm kind of holding on to your idea of how the ending of it with the $5 off is referencing the post-capitalism society. So it could be related to that in a way, with like cities of poverty and just sadness.
But doesn't the rain bring prosperity with water and fueling the earth?
If you want to look at it in a more positive light, but I unfortunately have had my experiences with, I just mean no housing, the homeless, rain-soaked cities.
Yeah. Well, because water is emotion. In the esoteric, water tends to relate to emotion, and air relates to magic in its way. Air is flighty. It's flowing. It's fast. It's ethereal. It's the unseen. Everything that is not tangible, because you can't really grab air with your hands. But water, you can. Water is emotion. Water is flowing. It's changing. It's roiling. It's calm. It's a lot of things. And then earth is material. It's hard. It's solid. It's the mundane, the hard things, the desk you knock on, the car you drive. And then there's fire, which is sharp. It's harsh. It's burning. It's angry. Well, it's not angry necessarily. It's force. It's a lot of it's a lot of sharpness and a lot of it's I guess it's motivation in a way.
Yeah, definitely.
Like selling, what's it? There's a term, like a wildfire, right? Like that term means something is going a lot. So if we take it at that, water means something is filled with emotion, and the wings means something is of the air, something is magic, something has happened. This writer has done something with magic that relates to the emotions of a city, and a terribly emotional city at that. And he's trying to tell you that there is a little goblin inside you that is the manifestation of the smallness of yourself and the vastness of the universe and all of time and all of everything that is.
Could the second to last line,
it'll always be there if you keep this up.
Yeah, could that be referencing the ignorance of not knowing that the goblin man is there?
Yeah, or rather missing it. You missed it. If you just keep not seeing it, then it's just going to keep doing its thing.
This is literally just existential dread.
Yeah, so if you don't confront your existential dread, it's just going to hang out, and it's going to get worse, probably.
I can unfortunately agree with that.
Yeah. Existential dread. Fun. Well.
We don't like this.
Oh, we're not. Quick, give me something that the whales are singing.
Oh no, I hate when you do. I can't. Okay, let me just wait. Let's listen.
Whoa. Whoa.
You know, I'm really getting Youth of the Nation
Youth of the Nation.
by POD.
All right, Youth of the Nation, folks. We'll be back shortly after the whales give us a concert of Youth of the Nation. Yeah. Well, I don't know how to segue out of that. Thanks for throwing that curveball at me.
You're very welcome. It's important. The whales are thinking about it.
I guess.
Anyways.
Well, I suppose we'll end tonight early, seeing as I really don't know how to segue out of that in an efficient and timely manner to do anything else. So, yeah, really appreciate that. Well, folks, I suppose that's it. I will be seeing you next week with a different special guest. Hopefully this one won't throw me a curveball. Till then, good night all.